Alright, it's the final episode. Let's see who will win this season. The Bloodbath. As the tributes stand on their podiums, the horn sounds. Margot runs away from the cornucopia. Millie gathers as much food as she can. Foxy finds a backpack full of camping equipment. Gabriel snatches a pair of sais. Sarah runs into the cornucopia and hides. Dylan clutches a first aid kit and runs away. Chica rips the mace out of Cassie's hands. William, Freddie, Jeremy, and Mrs. Afton share everything together before running. Jessica and Andrew run away from the cornucopia. Fritz grabs a shield leaning on the cornucopia. Oswald, Golden Freddy, and Charlie run away from the cornucopia. Evan grabs a shield leaning on the cornucopia. Susie snatches a pair of sais. Bonnie and Cassidy fight for her back. Cassidy gives up and retreats. Gregory runs away from the cornucopia. Elizabeth finds a backpack full of camping equipment. Day 1 in the Hunger Games. Mrs. Afton travels to higher ground. Foxy receives medical supplies from an unknown sponsor. Cassidy discovers a river. Millie steals from Susie while she isn't looking. Cassie and Golden Freddy work together for the day. Elizabeth and Gregory fight Dylan and Oswald. Elizabeth and Gregory survive. Sarah searches for firewood. William scares Jeremy off. Fritz injures himself. Jessica attacks Michael, but he manages to escape. Gabriel, Charlie, Bonnie, and Freddy raid Evan's camp while he is hunting. Chica attacks Andrew, but he manages to escape. Fallen tributes. 2 cannon shots can be heard in the distance. Dylan from District 11 and Oswald from District 10. Night 1. Gabriel tries to sing himself to sleep. Jeremy is awoken by nightmares. Freddy receives clean water from an unknown sponsor. Sarah loses sight of where she is. Cassidy, Bonnie, and Cassie carefully sing songs together. Susie passes out from exhaustion. Elizabeth tends to Charlie's wounds. Evan fends Golden Freddy, Andrew, and Mrs. Afton away from his fire. Gregory receives clean water from an unknown sponsor. Chica tries to sing herself to sleep. Millie thinks about home. Fritz and Jessica hold hands. Foxy questions his sanity. Michael screams for help. William is awoken by nightmares. Day 2 in the Hunger Games. Sarah picks flowers. Elizabeth tries to sleep through the entire day. Cassie picks flowers. Bonnie scares Gabriel off. Mrs. Afton sprains her ankle while trying to run away from Chica. Andrew searches for a water source. William picks flowers. Evan searches for a water source. Gregory makes a slingshot. Fritz, Michael, Millie, and Jessica hunt for other tributes. Golden Freddy steals from Freddy while he isn't looking. Cassidy diverts Jeremy's attention and runs away. Charlie receives a hatchet from an unknown sponsor. Foxy searches for a water source. Susie camouflages herself in the bushes. No one has died yet. Night 2. Charlie attempts to start a fire but is unsuccessful. Cassidy shoots an arrow into Andrew's head. Michael receives medical supplies from an unknown sponsor. Cassie, Foxy, Susie, William, and Gregory sleep in shifts. Elizabeth sets up camp for the night. Golden Freddy severely injures Freddy and leaves him to die. Mrs. Afton cries herself to sleep. Gabriel quietly hums. Bonnie, Millie, Chica, and Jeremy sleep in shifts. Fritz receives an explosive from an unknown sponsor. Jessica and Sarah talk about the tributes still alive. Evan attempts to start a fire but is unsuccessful. Day 3 in the Hunger Games. Gabriel makes a wooden spear. Gregory accidentally detonates a landmine while trying to arm it. Sarah attacks Jessica, but she managed to escape. Evan makes a wooden spear. Millie hunts for other tributes. Elizabeth, Cassie, Mrs. Afton, and Foxy hunt for other tributes as well. Michael and Susie work together for the day. Golden Freddy injures himself. Jeremy stalks Jessica. Charlie receives a hatchet from an unknown sponsor. William tries to spear fish with a trident. Cassidy is pricked by thorns while picking berries. Fritz defeats Bonnie in a fight but spares his life. Fallen tributes. 3 cannon shots can be heard in the distance. Andrew from District 8, Freddy from District 1, and Gregory from District 12. Night 3. Susie and Sarah sleep in shifts. Mrs. Afton, Evan, and Foxy cheerfully sing songs together. William thinks about home. Cassie sees a fire but stays hidden. Charlie stays awake all night. Millie begs for Cassie to kill her. She refuses, keeping Millie alive. Golden Freddy and Bonnie hug for warmth. Gabriel thinks about winning. Jessica begs for Michael to kill her. He refuses, keeping Jessica alive. Fritz thinks about home. Elizabeth sets up camp for the night. Chica begs for Jeremy to kill her. He refuses, keeping Chica alive. Day 4 in the Hunger Games. Bonnie overhears Evan and Gabriel talking in the distance. Cassie sets off an explosive, killing Charlie and Fritz. Chica defeats Golden Freddy in a fight but spares his life. Jessica questions her sanity. Jeremy hunts for other tributes. Millie makes a wooden spear. Michael sprains his ankle while running away from Sarah. Susie and Foxy split up to search for resources. Cassie tends to Mrs. Afton's wounds. William picks flowers. Elizabeth fishes. Fallen tributes. 2 cannon shots can be heard in the distance. Charlie from District 9 and Fritz from District 4. Night 4. Golden Freddy sets up camp for the night. William destroys Evan's supplies while he is asleep. Jessica and Foxy run into each other and decide to truce for the night. Gabriel questions his sanity. Cassidy receives medical supplies from an unknown sponsor. Jeremy, Millie, Michael, Elizabeth, and Susie sleep in shifts. Cassie fends Sarah, Bonnie, and Chica away from her fire. Mrs. Afton loses sight of where she is. Day 5 and the Hunger Games. Susie sees smoke rising in the distance but decides not to investigate. William steals from Jessica while she isn't looking. Evan, Bonnie, Foxy, and Sarah hunt for other tributes. Millie receives a hatchet from an unknown sponsor. Cassidy falls into a frozen lake and drowns. Gabriel convinces Chica to not kill him, only to kill her instead. Elizabeth sprains her ankle while running away from Golden Freddy. Michael searches for firewood. Jeremy accidentally detonates a landmine while trying to arm it. Cassie scares Mrs. Afton off. Fallen tributes. 3 cannon shots can be heard in the distance. Cassidy from District 3, Chica from District 2, and Jeremy from District 5. Night 5. Elizabeth loses sight of where she is. Millie begs for Susie to kill her. She refuses, keeping Millie alive. Gabriel and Evan tell stories about themselves to each other. Sarah sets up camp for the night. Michael tries to treat his infection. Mrs. Afton fends Foxy, Cassie, and Bonnie away from her fire. Golden Freddy attacks Jessica, but William protects her, killing Golden Freddy. Day 6 and the Hunger Games. Millie is pricked by thorns while picking berries. Evan scares Foxy off. Jessica dies from hunger. Gabriel and William hunt for other tributes. Mrs. Afton receives a hatchet from an unknown sponsor. Cassie scares Elizabeth off. Bonnie stalks Michael. Sarah practices her archery. Susie cannot handle the circumstances and commits self-termination. Fallen tributes. 3 more cannon shots can be heard in the distance. Golden Freddy from District 3, Jessica from District 9, and Susie from District 4. Night 6. Sarah, Bonnie, Michael, and William tell each other ghost stories to lighten the mood. Millie cries herself to sleep. Cassie is awoken by nightmares. Elizabeth is unable to convince Mrs. Afton to not kill her. Gabriel ambushes Foxy and kills him. Evan looks at the night sky. The feast! The cornucopia is replenished with food, supplies, weapons, and memoirs from the tribute's families. Sarah sobs while gripping a photo of her friends and family. Bonnie, Mrs. Afton, William, and Millie decide not to go to the feast. Michael, Gabriel, Evan, and Cassie team up to grab food, supplies, weapons, and memoirs. Day 7 in the Hunger Games. Evan sees smoke rising in the distance but decides not to investigate. William makes a wooden spear. Sarah falls into a frozen lake and drowns. Millie receives medical supplies from an unknown sponsor. Gabriel hunts for other tributes. Michael receives fresh food from an unknown sponsor. Bonnie overhears Mrs. Afton and Cassie talking in the distance. Fallen tributes. Again, 3 more cannon shots can be heard in the distance. Elizabeth from District 6, Foxy from District 2, Sarah from District 10. Night 7. Cassie passes out from exhaustion. William defeats Michael in a fight but spares his life. Bonnie, Evan, Millie, and Mrs. Afton sleep in shifts. Gabriel looks at the night sky. Day 8 in the Hunger Games. Bonnie runs away from William. Gabriel questions his sanity. Michael stabs Cassie while her back is turned. Millie collects fruit from a tree. Mrs. Afton stabs her middle child with a tree branch. Arena event. A tsunami rolls into the arena. Millie holds Mrs. Afton underwater to drown. Michael defeats Gabriel but throws him in the water to make sure he dies. Bonnie and William survive. Fallen tributes. 4 cannon shots can be heard in the distance. Cassie from District 12, Evan from District 8, Mrs. Afton from District 7, and Gabriel from District 5. Night 8. Bonnie is unable to start a fire and sleeps without warmth. Michael cooks his food before putting his fire out. William convinces Millie to snuggle with him. Day 9 in the Hunger Games. William sets Millie on fire with a Molotov. Bonnie hunts for other tributes. Michael does the same thing. Fallen tribute. 1 cannon shot can be heard in the distance. Millie from District 11. Night 9. Bonnie bashes William's head in with a mace. Michael unknowingly eats toxic berries. The winner is Bonnie from District 1. Bonnie first, Michael second, William third, Millie fourth, and Gabriel in 5th place. Alright.